right, so I'm excited about this next portion because it's something I don't feel like is talked about enough with you, and that's live mixing,
Yeah.
mixing tours, so
Yeah.
to speak, which is essentially just being in a studio. But obviously, I think there's a huge art element to this, and
It truly is, and the biggest thing I can tell any engineer, well, that's what I've been toying with here, is to take like a Saturday or Sunday, every other week or something, and have 6 to 8 students come out here,
yeah.
that are passionate about maybe wanting to get into audio, and
But it's one thing to do audio here,
yeah,
behind your control board and all that. It's quite another, like you said earlier, off air, where we're talking about Julio Iglesias, and you're doing 250,000 people at a soccer stadium
with a PA made
with
for
a PA,
10,000.
right? Exactly. And I mean, this is part of what you are known for over the years, is mixing live tours for just amazing artists.
Yeah.
What is that the kind of the difference between being in a controlled environment like here in the studio rather than being out on the road? Like, what challenges do you face more on the road than you would here in the studio?
I just said it's every day is different.
Yeah, you just have to be ready for whatever comes.
I
right?
just 2 years in a row I was hired by Bernard Brown, local sound company here in Dallas, and they had got the gig down at New Orleans Jazz Festival for the main stage, speakers and power and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they hired me to go down and just sit on top of the whole thing. Because usually only the headliners had an engineer, so all the rest of the time I had some Sharpies and lots of rolls of tape.
Yep.
And the band would be coming on and start playing. And Irma Thomas came out one time. She had 5 horn players, and they all sang. So I had to have 10 mics in a space of about this big. And I'm sitting there going, boy, how am I going to find out which one is doing what?
That's what I imagine it's going to be difficult not knowing ahead of time exactly what you're going to be looking at.
Well, that was it.
That's why I asked you earlier about having a full toolbox. That's something you learned at a very young age.
It was. I mean, because I was in a band from the start and having to have a sound system, and then as things grew, I added on to the sound system and stuff until I had the money guy come in. We bought the big package from Arnold & Morgan. And it just, something about being live out there, and again, that was part of being a musician and being in a band. When you had good people that you liked to play with, and you all kind of understood what you were going for, it was like that idea of magic music. It's all the humans, and when you put the right set of them together, and you all have fun, and that's kind of the whole thing about Black Horse. I met these guys in the club one night, and there was no audience in there, just me talking to the club owner about booking another band. When I heard these guys, and their bass player was having some health issues and stuff, and he couldn't finish the gig, and I walked up there and asked him if I could jam with them. We jammed for 2.5 hours, and I've been in the band for 53 years now. But it was just all, the magic of music was always that feeling, just the feel. That's one of the first things I asked Bonnie one night. I said, when you're getting a song, when somebody's, pitching you songs, what are the parts that you're looking for? And she says, there's only 2 things. First, it's got to have feel. It doesn't matter if it's fast or slow or whatever. You just got to be able to feel that thing. And then the only other thing was the content of the song. If it says something that was worthwhile,
which goes back to feel as well. I mean,
that's it.
Yeah,
that's totally it.
It's very circular.
It just it was just everywhere I went within the music world that I was cast into. From all the different things of going to college and going, getting drafted and going in the Army right in the middle of Vietnam and all that kind of stuff. Music always pulled me back in. And when I first got out of the Army and came home, I got married about 3 or 4 months. The girl I was dating for a couple of years, and we were dating. She had 2 girlfriends that lived next door to me in an apartment, and we all met the first day I was there. and that's when I realized I was in love with her. After I got, I'm sitting out in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and but when I came home, I said, honey, I need to buy a piano. I said, there's songs that are so deep and heavy in my heart about what I just went through for these 2 years, and she understood it. I mean, my sweetheart wife was the best friend I ever had, and she passed away some years ago. But she was the best friend I had, because I was like Iron Man Flint. I had two smart, wonderful women next door to me, and this was their girlfriend. And they'd all grown up in elementary school and stuff over in Dallas. And it was that same way. I mean, she listened to what I played, and we were rocking. I had bell bottom hip huggers on. He showed all the clothes of those days.
What was her role in all of this, the studio and your engineering, your musicianship?
She just, she knew that I was, that music was my life.
Yeah.
When we met in college, I just moved into this apartment, and it was the outside apartment, and then Betty Kay and Dolores lived next door, and I hadn't even met them yet.
Yeah.
And my bass player, I was still playing guitar at that time, and my bass player, said, hey man, can you keep my bass so I don't have to lug it all the way back to Fort Worth? And Willie Nelson's amp, those old acoustic amps, he had an acoustic bass that had a 15 and a 10 or 12 in it. And so I lugged that sucker up to my apartment and everything, and the next day I'm sitting there and I've got a hi-fi stereo that my brothers gave to me that was old as, I mean, it was hi-fi, not stereo. And it had a little tiny speaker on it, and I'm sitting there going, well, I got a solder kit and I've got a bunch of different wire here. And so I made up, I soldered the two leads to the leads on the speaker of the record player, and then put a 1/4-inch jack on the other end and plugged it into the amp. All of a sudden I had this, I mean, I had like a subwoofer there, and all of a sudden I get a knock on the door. And it's Betty Kay and Dolores and Faye Carroll, their friend. And as soon as I saw Faye Carroll, and she's looking at me, I'm going, wow. And she was 2 years older than me. I'm going, there's a woman. And she looked at me and she says, are you playing a tuba? Yeah, she just had to ask me, and I was going,
no, I chose trombone.
Because I had Tony Bennett's greatest hits.
Okay.
And so here's this beautiful music coming out with big round bass notes and everything. I said, if y'all don't mind coming in, and I introduced myself and everything. They came in, and I put the record back on, and they're like, wow, we never heard anything like that. And I said, well, it's my bass player's rig, and I found out how to get it. I just made it work better for me.
This is music serving you well again.
Serving me well again. And then they finally asked me, he says, do you play bridge? And I was going, wow. I didn't think I'd ever be able to tell somebody, yeah, I play bridge. Because down in Austin at UT, I was living in it was like 2 stories of 20 people up here and 20 people down here, and they had built-in bunks into one thing for nighttime.
Right.
Communal, shower and bathroom and all that stuff. And down there, it was just like, it was kind of every man for themselves and everything.
And here you are with 3 girls up in your place.
Yeah, and now I'm,
screwing over 2 men somehow.
and so. But we played bridge down there. They had, each one of those sections of 20 people had a little social room there with some round tables in it. And I get in there, I'm a freshman, and these guys are down there playing cards every night. I mean, it'd go all night into the morning, and you'd go to class.
Right.
And when you wanted to play, you sat down there, and whoever was next, and somebody got up to go study or whatever, you jumped in. Mm-hmm. And so I was, again, just like the engineer, I just sit there and so you're bidding 3 spades. Why did you do that? Well, it's this, and this, and that. Because my mom and dad played bridge, but I never watched them. I just got in there and got the candy corn and all the little mints and stuff. Let's get your ass out here, kid.
So you're just a question asker.
I am. I don't mind asking anything. I try to be, very respectful.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I want to know the whys.
Yeah. And so I went over and played bridge with them and fell in love with that woman because she was my partner, and they were just playing three-handed bridge, and we just whooped Betty Kay and Dolores's butt. And then
they lost on purpose.
They did. And one, later the next week or something, because Carol lived in Dallas, and she'd gone to school for a while and didn't like it. And then she got on with Brandon Fairways and was like a reservation person and picked her own time. So she worked from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till midnight. And then she would join us at a pizza place over there. It was at Love Field.
Mm-hmm.
The place that's Uncle Julio's right now used to be a pizza place that had a stage in it with all these pickers and players coming in playing folk music. So we go down there and drink many pitchers of beer. And I'm sitting there with 3 women, and I got knocked on the head a couple of times.
Oh, I'm sure.
OU weekend, we're walking down the street, all 3 of us together, and all of a sudden, I hear somebody say, "You've got way too many, boy," and he hit me in the back of the head with a whiskey bottle when I'm on the ground.
You just tell them you're a bass player, they'll understand.
And I finally, kind of came to, and I said, well, this is the last time I think I want to enjoy my life down here on the streets of Dallas at OU weekend. Because it was the Saturday night after the game had been played and somebody lost, and that one, I think, Oklahoma, and they were still in town, and they were lots of fights just walking down the street. But yeah, every time I got into anything that was really transitional for me, leading on to other things, it was always music was the core part of it.
You always end up back there.
Yeah.
And that's how passion works. Regardless of what the passion is, it always shows its ugly head.
Yeah.
It always, whether it's sports or
Yeah.
politics, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So you've had so many remarkable experiences with so many, famous people, let's be honest, from Bonnie Raitt and Jackson Browne, Willie Nelson, Erykah Badu. What do you owe all of these opportunities to? Because they don't just happen. I'm sure there's a luck element involved as well. But.
Well, it's just like when I built my little small PA company, it was because there were none of them out there. And
Let's just fill in the vacuum, fill in a role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I set up a PA out in Grand Prairie at the county line. And it was a club, all of them were country and western clubs on this little strip mall there. Mm-hmm. And it's right on the county line between Arlington and Dallas. And turned out to be Willie Nelson playing this bar 2 nights, sold out. And it was my first night with my PA. I'd got all this gear and stuff and was taking it out of boxes. I just pulled it in there and started stacking and doing all this stuff and putting it together. And Willie was like the kind, he walks in carrying his amp, puts it up on stage. All he says, I just need a vocal mic and just carry on from there. Real nice and everything. And I went, you bet. And so I did the 2 gigs and everything. They came off really, really well. The woman who owned that club was she was a real wingnut, and she was a Willie freak. And after a couple of gigs with Willie, then I got another one down at the old Sportatorium where they used the ring for the stage.
The Von Erickson.
And it was Willie and Asleep at the Wheel. And that's where I met Ray, and we became longtime buddies after that. Mm-hmm. What's up, Pappy? Well, hey, what's going on, Ray? He said, I'm just sitting here rolling. Mm-hmm. Sitting on the tour bus just rolling a whole box full of doobies.